Hey, Sean.
Hey.
Oh, that's really trippy. It's like 6 layers of previous things that are now into each other. Wow. Hey, Linda. Oh, I keep forgetting that we have a password instead of a waiting room now. I'm like so confused as everyone's popping in.
How are you?
Good. Well, sick and Gavi's got COVID and all those things, but good. How are you doing?
Okay. I'm so happy you're here. I didn't know for sure.
Alana told me that I'm scheduled to not be on until after the holidays, but I said I'm back for Uke at least.
Did you tell her you could not possibly live that long without?
That's what it is. I miss y'all. Hey, Ray.
Good.
The feeling is mutual.
Hi, Ray.
Hello.
I-
Hello, Lynn.
I have to point it out because Karen saw this shirt, I don't know where, but she said it was on clearance, which I know will come as a great surprise when looking at it, but said she had to buy it for me for ukulele, so.
Oh, absolutely.
It's perfect. Especially if you don't wear it out of your house. Just kidding.
I'm gonna tell her you said that. I think that's what she was going for. I'm gonna go refill my water. I'll be right back.
Sean, are you still in Mississippi?
Yes, I'm gonna be down here for the foreseeable future.
Oh. And Linda, you're back after your songwriting.
Oh, I am. I wrote 2 blues songs.
Oh.
I wrote 2 blues songs about St. Louis. I'm going to play them for you.
There's one that's already been.
Yes, it's pretty famous. I know.
And yours will be too.
I was thinking maybe we could have a practice on Sunday if you want. We could get together.
Let me look. I'd love it. Sunday looks good for me now.
Okay, I think it's good with Amy. I'll check with Judy. I don't know where Judy is.
She wasn't on last week.
I know.
Well, you know, she does, I think, a daily Zoom.
I know, but that doesn't take her away from doing it with us, I hope.
It certainly should not. We're going to see a little night music Saturday night.
So am I. I'll see you there.
Oh, terrific. I've seen it before, and I read the program notes. Oh my God, is it complicated in terms of the interactions and people lusting for someone and being married to someone else. Very, very circuitous.
I've only heard the music. I've never seen the show. So.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm stopping my video just till Rabbi Daniel gets back. Oh, look, Denise is here. Yay!
Denise.
Yeah.
Hi.
Robert had an uncle who everybody needs an Uncle Norman in their life. This guy was such a character. He called me once from France and he said, I just realized I should have brought you on my trip because I could say I took Denise, my niece, to Nice.
Well, that's my kind of guy.
Yeah, you would have liked him, right? He was a character.
Oh,
Anyone who ever met him had an Uncle Norman story.
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I took my niece, Denise, to Nice. Oh, lovely.
Right.
Denise, have you been okay with all the COVID running in your family?
Oh my God. Yeah, so far Robert and I haven't caught it. But now Robert's brother Jonathan and his wife and our 20-month-old granddaughter.
No, Daniel's brother, Jonathan.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Daniel's brother. What did I say?
John's brother.
Oh, right. Daniel's brother, John. Daniel, did you see my text to you?
Hold on. There's the problem.
I'm going to be on, but I'm going to be on stop video today. Hi, Sean. Where are you now? Tennessee?
Mississippi.
Have you learned the song yet, Sean? M-I-S-S-I-S-S-I-E-I.
I'm sure I did at some point.
Okay, I think I fixed all my setup here. Oh, how's everyone doing?
We're good.
Sean, that seemed like an okay, not a good.
I'm just kind of here.
We should find a time. I miss, we when you were in like the conversion process, we got together all the time. Let's Zoom. Will you find a time that works? Do you still have my link?
Somewhere maybe.
I'll just put it in the
Not
chat.
sure.
This, by the way, works for anyone. If anyone ever wants to find a time together, that link you can just schedule right into my calendar. Okay.
Can I use it too, son?
Oh no, I'm sorry. We blocked the IP address from your house. It's actually. Okay, let me turn on the stream. Speaking of which, here we go. Oh, welcome back together. Some random ukulele notes, just sort of things that I've been discovering. I really like fluorocarbon strings. That is a material, not a brand. When you see ukulele strings, you'll see all sorts of different materials. Fluorocarbon. It's actually the same stuff they make deep sea fishing lines out of, evidently. Like literally the exact same stuff. And as far as I can tell, the ukulele string makers actually buy large wheels of deep sea fishing line in various tensions that they've established are the right tension for that string. And then they cut them to form, put them in packets. And so you too, if you'd like to buy 10,000 yards of deep sea fishing line in 4 sizes, can get a deal. But anyways, it really makes a huge difference in the sound of the ukulele. And we've got, I changed Ezra's ukulele and made a huge difference. Speaking of ukuleles, if anyone knows of someone who wants a ukulele, Camp Indigo Point got a great deal and we bought 30 ukuleles for camp. I'll give away that Grandma Judy was very helpful in making that possible. Thank you, Grandma Judy. But they're really nice starter ukuleles that sound great, are built pretty tough. They're by Ohana, which sponsored. But we ended up with a number of extra ones here. So if anyone knows someone who would like a starter ukulele, these sell new, and these are brand new, these ones here, for like $125, but we were able to get them for $64 each. So if anyone would like one, just for the cost of what they cost Indigo Point, anyone's welcome to one. So If you hear someone who wants to join and is looking for a uke, they're really nice. But actually, that brings me back to the other one, which is that I changed the strings on those to fluorocarbons, and it made a real big difference. So just something to think about. Okay, let's play a little, shall we? Let me pull up. Where did you go, ukulele? There you are. We haven't played the blues in a while. I say let's play some blues. Some blues this morning.
Rabbi Daniel,
Yeah.
I just want to say that in my songwriting workshop that I went to, because of what I learned from you about the blues, I was able to write my 2 blues songs.
I'm so glad.
Sorry, I just need to tell you that.
I'm so glad to hear that.
You wrote your own, Linda?
I did.
Can we
Sometime
hear
I'll,
it today?
huh?
Can we hear it at the end of class today?
It's on the guitar, but I'll definitely play it for you.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Let's... Ooh, my ear just popped. I've got a cold. Oh, that's not the button. Where are we? Zoom in. Okay, so let's play some blues. We're in C right here. Just as a reminder to go over this for a moment before we jump right in, that the blues is the 1, the 4, the 1, the 4, and the 5 chord in whatever key. And we've been using the blues as a tool to help us play more comfortably in various keys and also to have a real sense of what key we're in when we are playing. So we're going to play this in the key of C. So let's go ahead and just look over our charts again. We've got this chart above me to start with. This is just a chart that shows us what the 1, the 4, and the 5 chord are for any given key, right? So in the key of A, we've got A is the 1, D is the 4, E is the 5, right? And we're going to be playing in C, so we've got C is the 1, F is the 4, G is the 5. And because we're playing the blues, these are going to be 7th chords, but that's true regardless of whether we're playing the blues or not. That's what that 7th is there for. That makes sense to everyone, yeah? Okay, so...
I have one question.
Yeah.
This is the 12-bar blues. Does that mean that most songs follow that 12-bar, or do they sort of do whatever they feel like, or is there a magic in the 12-bar?
There is a magic in the 12 bars. It is, I don't know what the magic is. I don't know where it comes from, but there's a magic in the 12 bars. And you will hear a huge number of songs that really just are the 12-bar blues. Over and over and over again. What's the Dylan song? God said to Abraham, kill me a son. And he must be putting me on. God said no. Abe said yes. No. Highway 61. That Dylan song, straight 12-bar blues. So many songs. Johnny Be Good, basically straight 12-bar blues, which is a song we've been playing. In fact, that's what we're going to go into after we play the 12 bars here. But most times, it's actually that they're going to break the rules of the 12-bar blues, Linda. And what you'll hear is that, oh, this is like the 12-bar, except when we come to the 4, we're holding it twice as long. Or this is, and you'll get to the point where you're able to tell what the variation is, and the skill, what that gives you is then you're playing along with other people, right? And they're playing a brand new song. You can tell that in some ways it's based on the 12-bar blues, even if it sounds like a country song or a pop song or whatever it is. And in your head, you can play along better because you're like, it's in this key. This is the 1, the 4, and the 5. And I can hear, all I need to remember is after the 4, they go to the 6 before they go to the 5 or whatever it is. And that just becomes the little hook of difference. I know that was sort of up here in the clouds of theory too for some of us, but hopefully that helped. Okay, so let's go ahead and play this.
Daniel,
Yeah.
would you show me what F7 looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we were going to do next, is go over all these chords in this key. Where's my button? There it is. Okay, so our 3 chords that we're going to have the 1 chord, or the 1 chord as a 7th chord, right, our C7. So just our index finger goes there. And at that note, you can hear the 7th in there, right? And then we're going to have our F7. The way that I like to think of the F7, Mom, is play an F and put down your ring finger afterwards. And the thing about seventh chords is they're very forgiving if you start from the main chord and move to the other one. In fact, they can sound pretty musical if you do that. So as often as not, what I end up doing is I play an F, and then a second later, that ring finger drops down, and it sounds great, right? Right now, and I'm even doing it a little on purpose. The other way that you can think of this, if it's easier, is it's the same shape as a G minor chord, right here. Right? What a guitar player thinks of as a D minor shape, but a G minor chord. It's the same shape, just one string up. I don't find that helpful to me because my thumb's in a really different position on those two. But I do the F into there. So either of those that helps. And then our G7, which we haven't played in a while, right? Here's our G. So it's fingered totally different than a G, actually. I think it's easier, actually, where our index finger is going back here on the first fret, and it's kind of in between is the cheese and the sandwich here. Okay, so let's go ahead and play these. Let me turn on original sound, and here we go. So just start getting into groove with the C7. I'm just doing a simple kind of sloppy down, down, up, down, up, down. Down, up, down. And blues rewards you if you're sloppy, so don't be too exacting. Okay, here we go from the top. C7. Now F7, F7. Back to C7. C7. Okay, we're on the second line, the 4 chord, F7. F7 again. Back to C7. For 2 measures. Here we go. Now to the 5 chord, G7 and F7, C7, G7, C7. Okay, how did that feel? Let's just check in real quick with a show of thumbs. Yeah. How are we doing on the transition from starting the bottom line? So we've got the 5 chord. Go ahead and play the G7. And then the F7. I just want us to feel that fingering for a second. Actually, I think it's a very satisfying move right there. Right, that index finger stays planted, and the other 2 fingers kind of move around, right? And then we're back to 1 just by dropping that index finger back down. Okay, let's play it again. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, C7, F7, C7, F7, C7, G7, to the F7, practice that move. There you go. I kind of missed that move. C7. Turn it around with the G7. Keep going. C7. F7. C7. Okay, this time around, just stay on that C7 for a second while we talk. We'll start over at the beginning of this. This time around, for each of the chords, practice going with the regular chord. If this feels easy to you, practice going between the regular chord and the 7th chord. So for the C7, you'll play the C and the C7, right? So go ahead and practice that for a second, just moving between the C and the C7. Okay, here we go. Now let's go on to the F7, and we're going to hold the F7, and we're going to do the same thing. Actually, just play an F, and then play the F7. And go back and forth between these 2. This one's easy to go back and forth, right? It's just that ring finger up and down. Okay, now let's do the same thing with the G7. This is actually the toughest of the ones to do. Play the G. Now play G7. Back to the G. Because you have to lift up every single finger, G7, right? Every finger is moving. So this is one that may be tough. It's worth practicing it. It's good dexterity training. G7. Okay, stay on that G7 for a second. Actually, go back to the G for a second. Okay, so let's let something being difficult be our guide, and let's do something that's a little easier. Let's do it in two different ways. So when we've got that G chord, we've got our two suspensions, right? Where we can either put down our pinky on the 3rd fret, or we can lift up our pinky and our middle finger, right? So we can do this thing. We're all used to that. That feels comfortable-ish for us now, yeah? Is that true?
No, that does not feel comfortable.
Oh, okay, great. So let's practice that. So everyone play a G. Just play your G chord. Now go ahead and put down your pinky. Keep everything else the same. I'm not letting go of anything on that G chord. I'm still playing that full G chord. And I'm playing with my pinky. Here, let me do a zoom in. Where do we go? Okay, we got our G chord. Put that pinky down. And you'll notice what that means is we've actually got 2 fingers that are playing the same string, which is one of the first things we learn not to do when we're learning chords, right? It's waste if you have 2 fingers on the string. But we're going to do that here anyways, so that we can move quickly between it and just our regular G. So first, let's just practice this. This is technically called a G sus4 chord. It means we're adding the 4th of the note of the chord rather than the 3rd. Okay, that's a G sus4. Can we do that? How does that feel? Let's see a show of thumbs real quick. Okay. Now, let's do the same thing. Thanks, Mom. Let's do the same thing. Go ahead and lift up that pinky. Play a G, and then lift up your middle finger. And then put the middle finger down. So when we lift up the middle finger, what we're doing is we're making... oh, excuse me. We're making our A string, the bottom string right here, ring out open, right? So just practice playing the G and open. G and lift up with our middle. And this is a G sus2. How does that feel? Show of thumbs real quick. Great. Okay, now let's put it together. So you can think of it as G, G sus2, G, G sus4. Do it again. G, G sus2, G, G sus4, G, G sus2, G, G sus4. Okay, show of thumbs. How does that feel? Little harder. So let's do that again and let that be something you practice. I would say let that be really something that you just sit there when you're noodling. This is a great sitting on the couch noodler. Just to sit there and, while something else is going on, whatever it is. So let's try this. So play it along with me. sus4, regular G, G sus2, G, G sus4, G, G sus2, G, G sus4, G, G sus2, G, G sus4, G, G sus2, G. Feeling easier? And I know I've mentioned this before, but this is, of course, the entirety of the Tom Petty song, Free Falling. Never changes. This is the whole song. So if you want to practice it and sing along to a song, beautiful song if you don't know it too. Okay, now we're going to take this one step further. Go ahead and play your G7 chord now. This is your G7. Look at my hand if you're forgetting it. And just copy. Index finger goes here, and then these two go around it, right? Okay, now look at this. The same rules apply. So this is a G chord. G7, G7 sus4, G7, G7 sus2. We can do the same exact thing on this chord because it's still a G chord. So it's a little different in that this time you're lifting up your ring finger instead of your pinky finger because your ring finger's on that A string, the bottom string, instead of butt. Or your ring finger instead of your middle, excuse me. So go ahead and practice that. And how does that feel? Show with thumbs. Doing it for the 7th chord. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go back to our blues and put all of this together. Okay, so we've got our C chord and our C7. We've got our F chord. And practice this with me, going back and forth with your F and your F7. Okay, now we've got our G chord. And moving from G to G7 is a whole schlep. You just can't do it fast. It doesn't matter how good you are at this or how many times you've done it. There's physics of those fingers moving. You can't do this like you can do, right? So what we're going to do instead, take that G7, is we can play with those suspension chords. Put that pinky down. Lift up that pinky. Lift up that ring finger. Put it back down, right? Play your G7, play your G sus4, play your G7, play your G sus4. So now what we have is we've got some color for each of these blues opportunities, right? We've got a C7 or a C. We've got an F or an F7, and we've got a G7 or these suspensions. Or we can go from G to G7, but again, that takes a lot of time. So that's a different thing to do. Okay, any questions on that before we go ahead and try playing it with all of those things?
I maybe shouldn't ask this, but I just wondered, why do they call it a suspension chord? Is that a question not for right now?
I'm going to try to answer it quickly, and if I can't remember it well enough, don't entirely trust me. I'm pulling from freshman year music theory when I'm saying this. What it usually means is that it's coming from the chord. I'll tell you afterwards. It's going to confuse it. I think in music theory it means it's coming from the chord before.
You know what? I'll look it up. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. And if you come up with a good definition, send it my way, or let us know next week.
Then the G7 sus, the pinky is on the A string?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Here's our, let me give you a zoom into my hand again. Here's our G7, right? Our regular G7.
Yes.
Here's our sus4.
Yeah, good.
Here's our regular G7. And our sus2 is going to be lifting up. So it's all of these suspensions are happening on the A string. Linda, I'm going to answer your question not from where the name suspension comes from in music theory, but for what it means in a guitar context or a ukulele context. And in a uke context, what's happening is the third of the chord. So, right, a G is a G, not an A, a B, not a C, and a D, right? G, E, D is a G chord. What happens in a suspension is we get rid of the 3 and we replace it with either the 2 or the 4. Does that make sense? That's what's happening. There's a longer explanation that has to do with the name coming from it being suspended from a previous chord. It's a remaining note from a previous chord in music. That's where the naming convention comes from, but that's not really what we mean. Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and play with all of these. C7 and C, F and F7, and then let's just do the suspensions here. The G7, pinky, and I'm calling these things color because they're there for you to add in as flourish while you play. Give a flavor to your playing, and you can move back and forth between them. So let's go ahead and play these blues with them. Here we go. And I'm just going to start on a C, as I'm going to do it. And I'm going to move from the C to the C7. So here we go. Here we go now. C, F, back to C, F, back to C, now to G7, and do F, C, G, turn it around again, C, F, C. We're gonna play this a few times now. Just keep going with it. Each time add more. F, F, back to C, G, F, C, G, back to C, F, C, now F, back to C. Here comes the G, F, C, and G, C. Okay, let's just pause for a moment and get some reactions and how that felt, what we learned, what was hard, what wasn't.
It's much easier to change these when you have two measures.
Where are we? There we are. Yes, right? When you have two measures to play with, you can do more. And that's part of what you learn. And you'll start thinking about it a moment beforehand. Okay, this is only one measure, so... And then you'll start feeling it.
What do you do in one measure? Could you just show us one measure and show us what you do with your hand? Like not with C, like how about with the G?
You want me to play through it once and sort of talk about what I'm doing? Is that helpful? Or is that what you're saying? Or
yeah, or just the ones where you just do one measure. I'm just curious.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, so let's... Okay, so the last time we played through this, what I decided I was doing is that I was going from the 7th chord to the regular chord, each measure. Okay? So I was going to go for half of it. C7 to C, and then F7 to F, C7 to C, C7 to C, F7 to F, and I'm doing it for each measure. F7 to F, C7 to C, or you do it in the opposite direction, but it's a lot harder to do that for one measure than two. So if you're finding it difficult to fit it into one measure, don't fit it into one measure. Instead, make a decision which of those things you're going to do for that measure. And you can pick between them and interchange, right? So instead you could go C and then F7 and back to C. And now maybe this time you go to C7 because you got two measures, right? And then maybe do F for one measure and then F7 for one measure and then C for one measure and C7 for one measure. We've only got one measure here, so we'll pick one, G7. And only one measure here, we'll pick one F because it's easy and I couldn't get to the other one fast enough. And then C7. G. So...
Okay, mainly it helped me a lot to see the rhythm that you use, like bum, ba, bum, change. Bum, ba, bum. That was very helpful.
Got it. Yeah. You'll let your strumming be your guide. Cut things into quarters or fourths or things like that of a measure. Beats. And that's why it's so good if you can, and I know I keep saying this over and over again, but you need to have that counting going on in the back of your head always. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Because it also lets you know when a new measure's coming. Always on a 1, right? 3, 4, 1, 2. And you just want that there. Put it into your foot. Let your foot be the one that counts that. And what you do is you give a hard on the 1, and the other 3 are softer. And you can teach your foot to do that for you. and then you don't have to think about it. Or if your foot's tough, bounce around a little bit, or you can flap an arm, or really find a spot in your body that you can put the rhythm into, and let it do it for you.
Daniel, your description of adding color is just perfect.
It's how I don't even think of it. I feel it, right? Yeah.
Can I ask? I've got the G7 sus4. Can you give me the G7 sus2 again?
Yeah.
Which finger?
So go ahead and play a G7, and then lift up your ring finger. So it's only your index and your middle finger. It almost looks like an F. If you moved your index finger up a string, if you moved your middle finger up a string, it would be playing an F. Because everything with the suspensions is happening on this bottom string. Everything on the suspensions is happening on that bottom string. Did that make sense, Ray? Was that helpful?
Yeah. So it's the ring finger that you lift.
It is the ring finger that you lift up. One more music theory note. These chords aren't major chords or minor chords when we're suspending them, because we're pulling out the third, and it's the third that determines whether it's a major or a minor. So you can actually use these suspensions in place of a minor chord or a major chord. There are variations on this, and there's something called never mind. Okay.
Another New York Times crossword puzzle. We talked about Jolene, but there was one clue about what do you do to make music sad, and it was minor.
There you go. Oh, I'm in the wrong order here. Okay, actually, you know what? We're going to go back to an exercise that was one of our first exercises that we haven't done in a long time. Nope, not Bim Bam, though. Why aren't you moving? And we're going to do Hashki Venu in a few different keys. Oh, no, maybe we don't have Hashki Venu in a few different keys anymore. That's sad. I must have gone through and deleted them. Well, oh well. Let's play blues in a few different keys then. Let's take this same learning somewhere else. Okay. So now we're going to play blues in the key of G. So our three chords are going to be our G7 and our C7 and our D7. So first, it's nice that two of our chords overlap. We have two different options for a D7. We have a two-fingered D7. This is probably the one I would pick. Or you can use your index finger. This is a much more technically difficult chord to play. You can use your index finger to block off those three strings. And then you use your second finger to drop down here. Actually, I'm probably going to use my third finger because it's more comfortable. No, I'll use my second finger. And that's the one that is in yellow over there. So you can pick between either of those chords. Again, I think that's probably a much easier chord for you to play, right?
Yes, indeed. We use that chord so frequently.
So the other variation of D7 that you can play is you can play it with your first and your second finger, or you can play it with your second and your third finger. And for that, whatever is easiest where you're coming from. In this song, it's probably going to be your second and your third finger that'll be easier than your first or your second. But if one way is easier to get to than another based on the chord you're coming from, that's how you can pick. Okay. So let's talk through our variations here. So go ahead and play your G7. And remember, we've got our G7 sus4. We've got our G7. We've got our G7 sus2. Now we've got our C, and we've got our C7. And now go ahead and play your D7. Okay, this may be too complicated. If this becomes difficult, don't worry about it. We've taken in a lot today. But for those who'd like one more piece, now we can do a D7, sus2 and 4. That's going to work almost the same way, except instead of being on the A string where we're playing, it's going to be on the E string. It's on this string that we're going to be doing it. And so it's going to work the same way. Here is our D7. And I'm going to lift up my ring finger to make a D7 sus2. Which is, on a ukulele, the same chords as an A minor. Or same notes as an A minor. And then we can play that D7 again now. And put your pinky down on the next fret on that E string. So here's the progression if you want to do it.
Which fret is that?
It's on the 3rd fret that's happening. Here. So I just want to point this out again, that the G7 sus2 is the same chord as an A minor chord. So that might be a little more difficult, but let's go ahead and pause before we play this and give you another homework exercise, or maybe the actual homework exercise. Practice your suspension chords in both of these. Do the same exercise. Actually, this will be a very easy one to move. Let's go ahead and do this. Go ahead and play your G7 and do back and forth with your G7 with the suspensions. Okay, now pause for a second, and we're going to move to the D7. And look at this. Look at my hand. Just look at my hand for a moment. Look at all we're going to have to do. We're going to lift up our index finger. It's going to disappear. And then these two fingers are just going to move up a string. That's all that's happening. See that? So here's our D7. All that's happening is we're lifting our index, and these two are moving up a string. And then we're going to practice this same thing. Play the D7. Then we're going to put our pinky down. It's going to go on the fret on the same string right next to that ring finger. Then we're going to lift up our pinky. And now we're going to lift up our ring finger. We're going to put the ring finger back down. We're going to put the pinky right next to that ring finger. Back up. And lift the ring. Okay, so we've got our D7, our regular D7. Pinky down for D7 sus4. Pinky up, but regular D7. Lift our ring finger for D7 sus2 and back to a D7. Okay, this has been a lot of music theory today and a lot of new chords. How are we? Just a quick check-in on this. Where are we at? How does this feel?
Okay, not to be the dodo bird, but A minor is D sus2.
D7 sus2. Sorry, I am hitting all the
D7
wrong buttons.
sus2
There we go.
is A minor.
Yeah,
They're the same.
it's the same exact chord.
So the D4 is over here. D7 sus4. Okay.
Yep.
Wonderful. Loved it.
Okay, other thoughts, reactions?
Are we going to play it or we don't have time?
No, we've got, I think we're only at 12:40, 12:42. We got some
And
time.
I think this was very helpful.
Oh, good.
From like G to G7 and G to G7, and then same with F and C. Very helpful.
So that's the real exercise that I want you to do as your homework, is I want you to practice this same riff, right? And you can practice it all 4 ways because we know it in 4 different ways now. We've got a regular G going to the G sus4, regular G, G sus2, right? We can play Free Falling. She's a good girl, loves her, right? With that, sit down at the couch and play along with it. We can do the same exact riff, practice it, the exact same thing, except play it with a G7 now. It's not going to sound like Free Falling anymore. Okay, right? Now we can play it, we can also do our D7 this way. Now, if you want to add it in, we don't play the D chord a lot because it's kind of a tough chord on a ukulele, right? To either play it that way or like that. But that same riff works right here great too, right? Here's your... And this is a beautiful U2 song, All I Want Is You. In fact, I think we learned this riff at one point, right? But now maybe you understand it a little bit differently, right? All we're doing is the D... playing with a suspension, and the same with the G. So that's what I would practice as a technical exercise, and what I would practice this week as a homework is play the blues, whatever key. It can be in C, which is probably the easiest key, but if that is easy for you, play it in something else. And practice choosing and making choices and feeling how that sounds, right? And so let's do that now with the blues that we keep talking about, that everything else has been kind of a long music theory tangent of. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to play it in the key of G, and each time choose, which means maybe this time around when you play it all with regular chords. You don't play any of the 7th chords. You just play the 12-bar blues with G, and with C, and with D, and with G. You're going to sound like you're in a Buddy Holly song. In fact, you'll be able to play about a dozen Buddy Holly songs that are the 12-bar blues without a 7th chord. And then the next time around, choose one of them that you do as a 7th, and another one that you don't, and start feeling the differences. And the same with these suspensions, with moving back and forth there. So let's just go ahead and do that. Let's jam along to this like we did in the other key. So here we go. We're going to start on the G. I'm just going to play it in the major, actually, to start. Start in the G. Okay, here we go. G. Now C. Back to G. Maybe a little suspension here. Now G, C. Stay on C. Back to G. Now D. And C. And G. Turn it around with the D. Okay. How'd that feel? We don't play these chords as much, right? So that's great. If that's tough, think about how easy this was in C with the 7th chords. But particularly that D chord is not a chord we play a lot. So let's now play with the 7th chords. Here we go. G7. So now we're going to play all 7th chords through it. Here we go. G7. C7. Back to G7. Now C7. C7. Back to G7. Now D7. And C7. G7. Here comes D7 again. Let's play it again. G7. C7. G7. C7, and G7. Okay. So if that's tougher, that's another place to practice, is to play this in both keys that we just went over. It's also I don't know about you, I find it to be a real mental stretch, actually, to switch the keys, particularly when the chords are so, right, when two of the chords are the same. So.
That's the hard part.
Yeah. And the other one that gets me about this is that the G is a D shape on a guitar, and both G and D as chords are in here, and I just like it. It does something to my head here. Other thoughts, other questions on any of this? And then we're going to end with Jolene in honor of the New York Times crossword puzzle.
Great. Thank you.
One note while I'm pulling up Jolene. There's a...
Oh, we're going to play Johnny Be Good, or we might not have time to do both.
Oh, yeah. Would you rather do Johnny Be Good?
I don't know. Ray, what do you want? Sean, what do you want?
I want both.
Me too.
We can probably do both. Let's do both.
Yay, thank you.
There's a somewhat spoof sci-fi show called The Orville that did an episode where Dolly Parton is a god on some planet, where they discovered her music and built their culture around her, and ran into it and thought it was very funny in honor of our Jolene. Okay, let's go over our chords here. So we have D minor. Oh, let me give you my zoom in though. Where are you? Sorry. We've got our D minor. We've got our D minor. We've got our F. We've got our C. We've got our D minor. D minor. F. C. D minor. And then we've got this move from C to C7. And look what's happening there, right? That's something we just practiced. It was exactly that and exactly the reason it's here. It just adds color. And in fact, if you don't make the move, it sounds fine. It just doesn't have the color. Back to D minor. Okay. Let's get into our groove. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Here comes C. I'm seeing of you, C7, don't take my D minor. D minor, and F, and C, and D minor. I'm seeing of you, C7, because you D minor. Okay, we're gonna go on, here we go. Your D minor is F, compare with C, locks of D minor hair, with C, skin, and C7 of emerald D minor. Your D minor is like an F of spring, your C is soft like D minor rain, and C cannot C7 with you, D minor. D minor, and F, Jolene, Jolene. I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Please don't take them just because you can. Okay, let's do the verses one more time too. Here we go, ready? Your beauty is beyond compare, with C, locks of D minor hair, with ivory skin, C7 of emerald green. Your D minor is like a F of spring, your voice is soft like summer rain, and I cannot C7 with you, D minor. Okay, from the top, let's play the chorus. I'm just gonna sing the words, no chords here. Jolene, 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 Jolene. I'm seeing of you C7, don't take D minor. Oh, I said I wasn't going to do that, sorry. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Please don't take them just because you can. Okay, how'd that feel? That's a fun one. Isn't that such a great little song? I heard there's that other song of hers, and I Will Always Love You. I think Whitney Houston had a huge hit with it. And
Gorgeous.
she wrote both of those on the same day.
Oh,
Right? Okay. Johnny Be Good.
Gave $1 million for COVID research too.
Yeah.
vaccine, 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 vaccine.
I shot you in my... Oh, I have no voice. I don't know why. Never mind.
You can sing, Mom.
Another songwriter.
Yeah.
You, Denise.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and we're not even gonna use these chords. We're gonna do this differently. Johnny Be Good lyrics. Okay. Now, we're going to do this in the key of C. These are the ones we know the best. We've got our C, we've got our F is our 4 chord, and our G is our 5 chord. Now this is blues, so you could choose to not do any of those and only play the 7th chords. I think it'll probably even sound better. So C7, F7. These are the chords we just practiced, right? G7 and C7. So I'm going to play through it real slow. Join me as you can, okay? And I want you to hear that it is just straight 12-bar blues. Deep down Louisiana, close to New Orleans, way back up in the wood among the evergreens, there stood a log cabin made of earth and wood, where lived a country boy named Johnny Be Good, who never learned to read or write so well, but he could play that guitar just like a ring in a bell. I said go, go Johnny, go, go, go Johnny, go, F7, go, go Johnny, go, C7, go Johnny, go, G7, F7, Johnny B, C7. Okay, here we go, C7 again. He used to C7 his guitar in a gunny sack, go sit beneath the tree by the railroad track. F7, oh, the engineers would see him sitting in the shade. C7, strumming with the rhythm that the drivers made. G7, the people passing by, they would stop and say. C7, oh my, what little country boy could play. C7, go, go Johnny, go, just that C7, you're just sitting there. Go Johnny, go, here's F7, go, go Johnny, go, BC7, go Johnny, go, G7, F7, Johnny, BC7. Okay, can you kind of feel it? What the next chord is? Is that starting to come?
Yes, I'm only mystified because in the chart, not to be too rigid, but the chart you gave us, that first C7 you only play for one measure, but you play this for a lot longer.
There you go.
That's what I was trying to understand.
There you go. That's exactly how you learn to relate to these songs. Is This is a 12-bar blues where he's sitting on that one.
So you can sit on one for a while.
You can do whatever you want. The 12-bar blues is endlessly expandable. Sit on
So
one,
it's
stay
more-
at... Yep.
Is it more the order that you go 1, 4, 1, that order, as opposed to how long you stay on each one?
Yeah. So yes, I think you're on to what the core is there. Let me hold on close up. Where are you? Zoom in. So I think what's happening, what we wanted to do, right, is exactly that. We've got the time when we spend the time on one. This time is all about one. And then there's the time about 4 that we spend some time on 4. Sometimes you spend a lot of time on 4. And then you go back to the 1, right? And you spend some time on the 1. And then there's this 5. 5 to 4. 4. 1. So that's really, I think, the essence of it. That's a really nice insight, Linda. I didn't thought of that. It's like the 1-4 thing, and then the 5-4 thing, and then the 1-5 thing. Yeah, and that's what each of the 3 lines is.
Okay, thank you.
That may have been a little too music theory-y. Sorry. Okay. There we are. That was fun today. I hope that was fun for everyone else too. A lot of...
Oh, great fun.
Good. I believe that this all should be in the regular streaming spots.